Hello, I'm David Roger, General Counsel for the Las Vegas Police Protective Association. What should be your number one goal every day you go to work? Well, it isn't the number of pedestrian stops you make, vehicle stops, bakers you write. It should be going home safe. And if that's not your number one priority, it should be. And so how do we get there? I'm a big believer in process. We follow a process for everything we do. Maybe it's when you go to the range and you're practicing different types of shots. You unholster your gun, you get your target in sight, you breathe, you squeeze the trigger slowly, or maybe it's sports. Nick Saban is the great coach from Alabama. Whether you like him or not, he talks about process. And the same should be said for the way you do your police work. So let's talk about vehicle stops, and I'll explain to you why we're talking about that. A vehicle stop. And so you have reasonable suspicion to pull over the vehicle. Maybe you run the plates before you get out of the car. Maybe you sit and watch the driver to see if there's any furtive movements that may cause you to call for backup. However, once you get up to the vehicle, you should follow this process. Ask for driver's license, registration, and proof of insurance. A statute says that you're entitled to demand identification when you have reasonable suspicion. You have to ask for insurance and proof of registration. And when they're doing that, obviously, you're scanning the vehicle for weapons, drugs. You're talking to the individual to see if they're abnormally nervous. You're using the smell to determine whether the person has alcohol on their breath. You're smelling for marijuana. And so you're doing all of those things. And what's the reason? The reason is officer safety. So you go back to your vehicle, you run the person for wants and warrants. You check to see if they have a valid driver's license. You check to see if the registration perhaps matches up. When you're up at the car, you're looking inside. Has the vehicle been stolen? Do you notice a screwdriver in the ignition for those cars that still use an ignition? Or has it been hot wired? Do you see what you believe to be maybe stolen property? All of those things you're entitled to do as part of your temporary detention, your Terry investigation. I gave you a U.S. Supreme Court case last week, Rodriguez, and that case says that an officer can ask limited questions of the driver, demand identification, ask for proof of registration, run the person for wants, because the Supreme Court understands that public safety and officer safety is important and that vehicle stops are inherently dangerous. I gave you a Nevada Supreme Court case, Cortez. So follow the process each and every time. And if for some reason you have to deviate because you see a gun in the car, then you deviate. But you have followed the process. And why do I bring this up? Because after the last video, I got an email from an officer, and the officer says, well, what happens if the reason for the stop is no longer valid? You're still entitled to follow the process. You can make that determination after whether to write a citation or let the person go, or your reasonable suspicion is no longer valid after you have done those things. And no court is going to say that you have unreasonably detained the person, but follow the process. I got a call from another officer dealing with search incident to an arrest, and the officer says, I do a pat down of an individual, I feel a crack pipe, I pull it out, and I know that I'm going to write a citation because that's what I do for narcotics paraphernalia. Can I still search him? Follow the process. You pull something out of the person's pocket, it's an arrestable offense, hook them up. Conduct a search incident to an arrest. You don't know what you're going to find in that pocket. You might find the bullet that comes back to a murder weapon. You might find stolen property. You might find drugs in the person's pocket. follow the process. And then if you want to write the citation, write it after you have already determined that you're not going to arrest the person, but follow the process. Hook them up, search incident to an arrest, and then make that decision. And so please, I don't know what training people are receiving out there. I don't know if it is the message that is being received incorrectly. I don't know if the teachers are teaching something differently, but all of this is for your safety. Follow the process. And if you have any questions, if you get other sources, whether you're reading cases incorrectly or you go to some training and that person either doesn't know what they're talking about or you're not assimilating the information that is given to you, follow the process. This is important to me because I represent you. I want to make sure that you are safe. So as always, if you have any questions, contact me at droger@lvppa.com. Watch the website, davidroger.us, and of course link up to our YouTube channel so that you can get all of our information timely. Thank you very much, and be safe.